Morning, super entrepreneurs. I hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome to the EntrepreNEWS. I'm Super Joe Pardo for anyone who doesn't know that. And today I have four stories to bring to you today. First, we're going to talk about Evergrande and the newest update on what's going on with them. Then I have the hottest toys to grab in 2021 and how much they cost. If you're a parent like I am, maybe now is that time to go and do that. I thought it would be interesting to take a look and see what kind of toys are out there, and maybe there's some opportunities as entrepreneurs that we could take advantage of, as well as talking about Dollar Tree to start selling items more than $1. And then yesterday morning, actually, before I came on and did the EntrepreNEWS, I actually had a run-in with some dogs and felt kind of threatened. And I was talking about this in the Super Entrepreneur Education and Mastermind, or SEAM, as I call it. And we were talking about like relating that back to an entrepreneurial lesson it's an incredible thing. You're going to want to hear this story at the end. And then, of course, as always, I will answer your questions with an answer at the end of this live stream. So today, let's start off talking about Evergrande. So if you this article says from the BBC, Evergrande struggling firm to raise $1.5 billion as debt payment looms. So if you haven't been following, Evergrande is this huge construction company. It's based out of China. I think it started, if I remember correctly, it was like something in the early 2000s, late 90s, and it just has basically it's leveraged its debt over and over and over, like leveraged everything it owns and the debt over and over and over again as it has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and owns like a ton of the livable, rentable space in China, which is huge, right? I mean, China's market has grown so big just in the last 20 years, comparatively speaking to the previous 20 years before that. So they are looking at, so the Chinese property giant Evergrande is said it is selling $1.5 billion or 1.5 billion pounds or 1.1 billion pounds stake in its own it owns in a commercial bank as it scrambles to raise money owed to customers, investors, and suppliers. So they were paying a whole lot of interest only to keep the whole business operating. And when COVID hit, like everything changed, right? Everything has changed, and now they're the remnants of when COVID hit in the beginning of March 2020 is not real. Well, actually, for them it was even before that, but the effects a year and a half later are being felt, right? And this. A lot of people would say that Evergrande owns so much real estate in China, and so they even own a sports team, a soccer team, or football team, if you will, and so many different businesses and so many different industries and niches that it's like they're too big to fail. But some are saying that China is just going to let it happen and let the chips fall where they may. That probably won't end well. I mean, I am not a fan of I'm not a fan of just letting things fall where they may, and I'm also not a fan of like, let's bail out the banks and all that stuff like that. Was not great either, right? There's got to be a middle ground there, and so they're gonna go and raise this money. I hope that they're able to do it for everybody's sake, because even though this is in China, it absolutely has effects to us and here in the States and the rest of the world, which is why people have their eyes on what's going on there, and affects. It potentially affects everybody, just as the U.S. banking crisis happened in the end of 07, 08. It has a ripple effect. So I'll be doing a better job going forward here, tracking the Evergrande situation. And the business lesson, the entrepreneur lesson that I want to bring back to you with this is making sure that you're not over leveraging yourself. Look, we all want to roll the dice, right? And the no risk, no risk it, no biscuit, as they say. But we have to find where we're comfortable and where, because like I've been in that situation where we had a ton of money, like close to like $1 million tied up in one company, and that company they weren't getting their contracts renewed by government contracts, and it was like, whoa, like are they going to all of a sudden default? And if they do, are we going to get our money? Probably not. We're going to be in line, and it's going to take a while to get that money. So you have to it's a constant balancing act of like, how much money can we put out there, how much can we leverage, and what can we do to mitigate, so we're 80% of our business isn't coming from 20% of our customers. And sometimes you need to make sure that you're like kind of, because nobody wants to cut that company off, right? It's like, oh, they're so big, they need this, they need the parts, and in this case, it was a truck parts company, and it's like you don't want to cut them off because they'll just go and deal with someone else, and in that case, they were like, when we finally were like, hey, we can't keep leveraging, we aren't the bank. We can't just let you keep taking and like hoping that everything's going to turn out. Now, fortunately, everything did work out, but there was a couple months there where it was like, we could lose everything, if that million plus dollars just basically evaporates. It could cause a domino effect that just the rest of the company will feel, even having 11 locations and 4 other companies in our nucleus to kind of soften that blow. So I just want to caution everybody, make sure that you're not over leveraging your business, and you're not allowing your customers to get so far out if you're holding on to that debt for them. So real quick, I got a couple questions here. Thank you so much for being here, gaming, and for MacNolds. I will get to your question at the end. I greatly appreciate you being here with me today. The next article is a real quick story. The hottest toys to grab in 2021 and how much they cost. So as a parent, it's the Christmas season's coming up, right? The gift giving season is coming up. It's literally right around the corner. I think we're under 100 days at this point, or close to it. If not, no, it probably is under 100 days. So Toys R Us and Macy's released their top 75 toys of the season. Jeffrey's hot toy list. I want to point out, Toys R Us didn't exist not that long ago, and here they are teaming up with Macy's. Was it Macy's that bought into them or something like that? I forget how that played out, but I think there's a website that you can at least go to. And if you're not familiar with Toys R Us, Toys R Us is was a huge force in the toy industry. And the lesson I want to point out here, actually, before I go any further, is the wake of Toys R Us closing their doors. All these other retailers stocked up on toys, from Kohl's to Best Buy, just like Target, Walmart, like they all got a surge of getting more toys on their shelves, because to fill that void of people still needing toys. Toys R Us was mismanaged, right? Like they had a ton of debt, and they had a ton of dead inventory, and when things get so big, they get slow, and when things get slow and things aren't going your way, it just starts to steamroll, or snowball effect into a bigger and bigger problem. And that's where Toys R Us. So it's not that Toys R Us wasn't a fantastic brand. I grew up being a Toys R Us kid, going to get my Nintendo games and my toys from Toys R Us back in the day. But I just, the brand power was great. It's just everything else was not going great for the business. So some of the toys that they had, or they have for the 75. Let's see, they have Jeffrey's Hot Toy list includes hero themed toys such as GI Joe Origins Ninja role play set for $21, Bumblebee, Cyberverse Adventures Dinobot. I can't even say, this is like a tongue twister. Dinobots Unite roll and change figure for $52.99. That's one thing. So like having kids, I never realized just how expensive some of these toys are. And then I'll tell you, like having two kids of like there's 2 years between them. One's a boy, one's a girl. We just have so many toys, and I feel like we're constantly like at a battle there of like, what do we keep, what do we not keep, how do we keep our kids engaged so that they're open to the idea of like donating it to someone else, or giving it to someone else to play with, especially when you're talking about like baby toys. So it says, it goes on to say, toys focus more on interactive play, include a $21 National Geographic light up air rocks. What I'd like to know is where they're getting this this data from to say that these are the hottest toys that are going to be hot. I almost wonder if like these are the toys that we have access to and don't have access to a lot. So it's almost like a supply, it's a supply issue. And they're just like, well, let's put out a list, and either maybe they have a ton of them and they're trying to get rid of it, or they don't have a ton and they're actually trying to do a service for parents to say, hey, you might want to buy it now, because if you wait until like November, if you wait till Black Friday in November, it's too late. You're not going to be able to get some of these things. So I just thought it was a fun story to kind of bring to light and to talk about, some supply chain things, because these companies are definitely feeling the crunch of the supply chain. Speaking of supply chain, speaking of inflation to go along with that because of the supply chain issues, Dollar Tree. If you're not familiar with Dollar Tree, they sell things for $1. Is set to sell some items for more than $1. Items that can go for $1.25 to $1.50 will soon be found in the mix at some locations amid the typical assortment of dollar products. Now, I actually really like Dollar Tree. I think it's I don't know. There's so many dollar stores. I think Dollar Tree is the one that I really like, and the products that they have there are pretty darn good for $1. Like you can get even like name brand stuff. I mean, it's very much scaled down. Like, if you would get like this much in the package, you're only going to get like this much for $1. But the opportunity to be able to get something and still have it be brand name product is awesome. So they are feeling there's a term for this, where instead of inflating the price of like, oh, this water bottle used to be, it's up from lttstore.com, instead of being $29.99, we're going to raise the price to $33, right? And instead of doing that, what you would do is you would maybe, well, I mean, it's not really with a hard product, but say this was filled with like popcorn or something like that. It's like, oh, you get this plus the popcorn. So instead of, inflating the price to $33, they just like, instead of filling it to here with popcorn, they fill it to here with popcorn and still sell it at the same price. Now, I've seen it at my local convenience store where the, buy 2 bags of chips used to be $6. For big bags of chips, $6. Now it's $7. So, but for a while there, it was still $6. But they probably have done a combination of those things. So what they'll probably do is like, oh, we lowered the amount that we're putting in the bag, and then eventually they couldn't stave off the inflation of the cost. So then they end up raising it $1 anyway, and then what they'll probably do is keep that same size and then maybe eventually roll it back to $6. And it's like, oh, cool, it's back to the price it was, but like really it's not, because you're getting just that much less in the bag. So Dollar Tree embedded in its very name is what it stands for. Behind these doors, everything can be had for just $1. The mantra to which Chesapeake, Virginia company has held true for decades will now be only mostly true. So I think there's something to be said for putting things in your name. Like, we do this, and then now we don't. I mean, Gap. The Gap is a great example of that. The Gap was if I remember correctly, it was the gap between the lines on a record, because they were a record store. Eventually started selling jeans, and then became the Gap as we know it today. But I when you say $1, like, it. Look, if everybody had their own money tree and it just grew dollars, then these things could still cost more than $1. I mean, ultimately, I think that it seems like they want to get their call, their pricing back in check, and they probably will at some point to keep it going. But in the meantime, they're dealing with increased costs, right? Annual inflation in the U.S. reached 4.2% in July, the highest in 3 decades. And this week, in an appearance before Congress, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that the price increases have worsened amid snarled supply chains and rising labor costs. So I actually wonder if they have. I wonder how hard it was for them to be able to implement that. When you talk about a company that has, kept everything at $1 for, what did it say, 4 decades, well, it said for decades, our customers are the thrill of the hunt. Where did it say? As so true. Yeah, so it doesn't say for how long. I thought it did, but when you have a company that's based around everything's on for $1, then all of a sudden it's not. I wonder if, depending on the computer system that they had, that they have operating on, if it was actually like more of a headache, because you wouldn't necessarily need a complex system of everything if you're only tracking cost. I would tend to think that you could just change the price, I would think, but who knows? People get caught all the time with like these dumb little things that turn into really big headaches. I mean, look at when the 2000 millennium bug, it was a thing, right? It's like, oh, no, nobody thought that would be should be a problem with just putting in 2 digits for your year of the date, but turns out it actually was a really potential big problem that a ton of people that did not get enough credit helped work to make not a problem, mostly with older computer systems, not like our modern Windows 95, 98 computer systems. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before I answer questions is I had a run-in yesterday, and I'm trying to find my notes here. Okay, so I had a run-in yesterday. I was literally out running, and I had my headphones in. I had the not do not disturb noise cancellation on, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'm running on the street, and there's 2 dogs that came running. Well, I saw one. It like literally, like, it was almost as appeared in front of me. It was running so fast, jumped run out in front of me, turned to me, started barking and growling, and and this all happened in like 1 to 3 seconds. It couldn't have been longer than that. So it's barking at me, and I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, I was caught very off guard. Meanwhile, this other dog, which actually turned out to be a pit bull, ran like right by me and off into the left and darted in behind a house with like woods. As soon as that dog got past us, the first dog in front of me was a German Shepherd, stopped growling, stopped barking, looked over, saw that the pit bull had run past, and then darted off behind, in chasing the pit bull. So, so a lot of people would probably be very scared. I was more startled than scared at the moment. It's not like the dog was like coming at me or anything. It just was like showing its teeth, growling, barking, and in my mind, within a minute or 30 seconds of it happening, my mind went to, oh man, this was like a Disney, Homeward Bound kind of moment here, right? This dog barked to get my, to keep my attention and to like like scare me, I guess, or whatever, while the other dog darted past me because maybe that dog is this, the pit bull's the scaredy cat in the situation. But that's where my mind went. And talking yesterday in the Super Entrepreneur Education and Mastermind, we were talking about, I was telling the story, and it came up like, oh, what's the business lesson here? And that's where I wanted to be able to share the story was, I think the business lesson is you're going to have things happen that aren't expected. You're just minding your own business. You're going forward, doing your own thing. Something's going to come, in front of you, and you're going to be tasked with making a decision within seconds, 1 to 3 seconds, and you have to stay calm. You have to assess the situation and not panic. You have to make that decision that is going to be best for you, for your family, for the business, for the team that you've put together, and make that decision sometimes very quickly. Like maybe it's not seconds, maybe it's a couple hours, maybe it's a couple days, but you are tasked with figuring that out. And so I wasn't worried. In the moment, I was more startled. And I mean, I put my hands up and I like stepped back because I'm like, whoa, like this, I was listening to a podcast at the time. So, listening about Disney business related stuff and not thinking that I almost never have a dog show up and want, growl at me or anything like that. So, and I didn't even hear him coming behind me, which was probably not for the best. But besides that, I want you to think about how you react in situations related to your business and how you try to keep a calm approach, try to diffuse the situation the best that you can, and move on, right? From a place of power, from a place of being a super entrepreneur, right? Of empowering other people. And that's the lesson that I want you to take away from this random encounter. Turns out later on, I found out that the family actually somebody left the gate open to a house not far from where I was, and the dogs got out. They did get home safely, so that's awesome. And yeah, so it all ended happily, and we got a lesson out of it. So ding ding for that. So all right, I want to talk. We got let's see, gaming just passing by to say thanks for your videos. GTG, your fan from Bahrain. Busaud. I don't know if I said that properly. I hope I did. And I'm so glad that you're able to join us here on the live stream, man, or lady. We got McNolds. Question: how do you discern between good business advice and scams where a business expert is just taking your money? It's so hard to tell these days. Oh man. Okay. So I don't know if you're a CoffeeZilla fan. If you're not, you probably should be. I mean, I'm a fan. I like what he does. I'd love to have him on my channel at some point to talk about that. I've pitched him, but he's opened my emails. He just says, I know he's busy tracking the next NFT meltdown thing going on, and rightfully so. There's somebody needs to be holding these people accountable. Okay. How do you discern good advice? So the approach that I always take is I want the people that I work with, like in the Super Entrepreneur Mastermind, to make the decisions ultimately of their own, right? We as entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers, right? That's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to see what the situation is, identify the problems, and make solutions. And I think that pretty much I don't want to say everybody because I hate making blanket statements, Oh, glad you love CoffeeZilla. I love CoffeeZilla too. He's doing great work. Um, Look, I mean, so many people out there are just faking it for the fake it till you make it kind of thing. I mean, I've seen stories where people were like, "Oh, I hired this coach, and basically they told me to fire everybody, and I wasn't sure if I should do it. Should I not do it?" And this is one story that just comes to mind from one message, I think a message board or something I was reading, and my thought to that was, look, even doctors get it wrong. You should get a second opinion. It doesn't matter what you're going for. Get us usually if it has something to do with a life-threatening anything, and in this case, a life-threatening to your business, a life-threatening to your team, your family, and everything else that's tied to your business, your customers. Be leery, right? And you should be leery of all time, even of me. I invite people to question. I would love to have, I want to have a educated conversation, or debate, engage conversation, if you will, about anything that I have to say about business. And I think when you're looking at who is the business expert that I want to work with, right? I think what you should do is look at the people that are doing what you want to be doing. Still have a skeptical eye. Always have a question everything. I mean, it's like literally one of the things I wrote in my first books. It was a chapter. It was question everything, right? And see, like, is this person acting in the way that I want them, that I would expect them to? Is this a person I would actually want to talk to, that I would actually want to work with and accomplish the goals? Are they aligned with how I think, how I feel? I mean, I know I'm not for everybody, right? Like the whole super entrepreneur thing, positivity, and I consider myself a positive realist, is not for everybody, and that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. It's not gonna change my way of life one way or the other. So I think that you really need to align with people that are saying the things that you want to hear, but also saying things that maybe you don't want to hear, but are delivering it in a way that makes you feel confident that it's real. Now, with that said, like, things can be plot. I mean, even listening to this, like, it is a bit of a conundrum. If you're going to TikTok for your information, I don't know. I mean, if people are there, they're flashing they're this or they're that. I tend to think that there's a lot more to probably not believing them. Also, I mean, do your due diligence. Go check out their social media. What are they posting about? What kind of engagement are they getting? Are they just getting a ton of likes and views on TikTok or on YouTube? What's the comments look like? What's the community around that person look like? Do you feel like the people that are writing those comments with what they're writing? Do you feel like these are people you'd want to hang out with? These are people you would like to learn from. But anybody who's selling a single box, like, hey, if you just follow this six step thing, like, we're gonna make it rain up in here. You're gonna have so much money. Blah 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 blah. There's no one path to success. You have to do the things that you feel right in doing, and are able to look at to have the data to be able to go and say, okay, this is the direction that I want to. Because every audience, every customer base, every opportunity to be in front of people is going to be different. The people that are listening to this show, watching this show, the people that are watching CoffeeZilla, the people that are watching, Grant Cardone or Gary Vee, are different. There's a different makeup of people, and a different level of comfortability of those people to speak the way that they want. So yeah, With that said, like I'm not the biggest Gary Vee fan. I'm not the biggest Grant Cardone fan, even though I'm doing. I have a new, what time is it? 10:30. I have a new Grant Cardone Undercover Billionaire dropping in like 30 minutes here. I try to keep a open mind with the advice and things. I also, the other thing is another question you could ask is, are they insured? Are they insured for the things that they're putting out there? Because if they're not insured, that doesn't bode very well. Doesn't bode very well from a advice standpoint. You want to make sure that they're insured. What kind of background do they have? How did they make their money? Where, like, what stories have they shared? Go into like podcast interviews, right? I invite you to go to my website, go to superjoepardo.com, go to the press under about, I think it is, or contact. There's a press button there. There's like 150 interviews that I've given, over the course of the last 7 years, plus 400 plus podcast episodes that I've done prior to all this. So I invite you to go and do all that. And I invite you to do that with any business expert that you're looking to work with, really anybody that you're looking to work with, not just in business. Go and do your research as much as possible. And always, I guess the best litmus test I could give you is if something, they always say, like, is it too good to be, if it's too good to be true, sounds too good to be true, then it probably isn't. I would say that 9.5 times out of 10, that's probably the case. And that's one of the reasons I set up my the way I do videos and the way I interact with people and interviews and everything is consistent. That's why I got bags under my eyes, because it's just, I'm not putting makeup on, because I want to be real, and I want to be able to be trusted. And if you're, I don't want to say if you're lying about that kind of thing, what else are you lying about? But yeah, just, you got to do your research. So I really appreciate the question, because it's definitely something I've wrangled with for a long time. In fact, out of the gate, when I left my family's business back in 2014, I was all gun-ho about, business coaching and the podcast and everything. And I actually watched a show with Penn and Teller called Bullshit. And I was binging it and got to the episode where they talked about coaching and how, BS it was. And it made me feel like, I don't want to be... I don't want to be connected to people like that are like that. They're just there to take people's money and all that. And it was a number of years. So I did a couple of, I worked with a couple of people right out of the gate, and then kind of simmered on that and worked in, a lot of times I was working on websites, like building websites for people to make money, to make ends meet. And it was, my good friend and one of my business mentors, eventually, and we were really good friends. Samantha Riley, we started talking, and I told her, like, I don't, feel really confident in the, being a business coach, because I don't want to be lumped in with these, business experts and get rich quick schemes and all that stuff. And, she told me, she's like, Joe, you and I have to do this because of those people. You and I have to be out there preaching the right things, and showing people the right way of going about doing it, and that there is no quick way of just making it all happen. Quick could still be a year. Quick could still be 2 years, 3 years of climbing that ladder to success for what you want to accomplish. Not me, but the people that we're talking to. And it was that conversation that got me, okay, maybe she's right. I mean, I've been around business since I was 6 years old, sweeping floors in the family business. This upcoming year in September, I will have been around and in business and started many businesses over the years for 30 years at the age of 35. Well, I'll be 36 at that point. So from the age of 6, I started working there, sweeping floors, counting inventory, putting stuff on shelves and things like that. So most people don't have that experience. And I'm not one to say, like, oh, look at this kid on TikTok. He's like, 17 years old. What does he know about business? Because like I was, one of those kids. Uh, so age isn't an opportunity to kind of poo poo somebody's experience in my book, but it could be, it could very well be, I definitely be skeptical of like crypto. And with that said, I've invested in crypto. I mine some crypto. I'm skeptical of NFTs, but I understand, and I'm going to do a video talking about NFTs in the upcoming months here, or upcoming week or so here. I think that the work, to me, the work speaks for itself. The history speaks for itself, and I think that if you're interested in somebody, if they are an open book and they are giving enough proof to show that they are being forward about what they bring to the table, then maybe feel comfortable, as long as, again, it's aligned with how you look and feel. Because a coach, that's really all we do, is we help you. We help make assess where you're at and make the necessary changes and analogies to make it so that it's relatable to you, to get you where you want to go. So I hope that answer has been sufficient. I appreciate all of you watching and commenting and the questions, and I'm looking forward to doing it tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday already. Tomorrow's Friday already. So tomorrow will be the end of the first week of EntrepreNEWS. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. I will see you in the next video. I gotta get better at this pointing thing. Is it? Yeah, over here. I'll see you in one of the next videos over here. You're very welcome. Take care.